Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and chat to amazing humans about their journeys and their stories with mental health. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce Katy Lee to the conversation. Welcome, Katy.
Hello, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's lovely to have you as a guest on here. Just very quickly, I'll just say how we got to this conversation. Katy and I have been connected through social media, LinkedIn in particular, and I posted something recently about some physical health challenges that I experienced when I was younger. Katy reached in, said I have a very similar story, so there's an incredible story that we're going to hear today, and we decided we'd get together and let's put it on this forum and this media, and we'll be able to talk about it. Katy, do you want to do a quick introduction? Let people know a little bit about you. Don't tell them too much about your story, but just tell them who you are and what you
Sure.
do.
So I am Katy Lee. I'm 48 years old, mother of one, living in Horsham, West Sussex, and I'm a senior business development manager for a technology company in London.
Excellent. So are you 1975 or are you
I am
1972?
1975.
All the
The
best
the
ones. Me
all
too.
the heat wave. Really?
Yeah,
Oh, see, look at
75.
that. You had an easy paper round than me, Matt.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, my hair colors, I don't know. Anyway, right, more about you than me. This is important. So lovely to meet you, Katy. Thank you for joining me. So I'm just going to ask you the same question I would ask all of my guests, which is tell us a story. Tell us a bit about your journey with, I know it's going to be physical health and mental health, but I'll throw that over to you and I'll sit back and listen.
Excellent. Well, thank you for inviting me, and it was inspiring to hear your story as well on LinkedIn. So, back in 1975, I was born the fifth child. Unfortunately, really severely deformed in my right foreleg. When I was born, they were actually going to amputate my leg. It was so deformed at the knee, and I was born in Roehampton Hospital, which is where the first artificial limb unit was. So they were desperately keen to amputate it and give me this fandangled new leg. My dad, a very tough Londoner, was like, this leg moves, it just moves the very wrong way. So he subsequently spent a very long time trying to find a surgeon to fix this leg. And he eventually found a surgeon who said, look, we'll give it a go. Let's try and bend it literally the right way around. So I spent the first 4 years of my life in traction, having my leg bent literally every 6 weeks in a plaster cast until I got to the age of just before I was 4, when I finally walked, which was a living miracle. I then sort of grew up really in the shadow of hospitals and operations, of keeping this leg straight, keeping it functioning. And pretty much every year they said, this leg's never going to last longer, it's never going to work. But my brilliantly strong, very tough London dad always kind of was like, find your people. And so he discovered that if you put any form of wheels or something on my feet, I became able-bodied. So subsequently, I learned to ride a bike super fast. I was the fastest out of all my sisters, out of all my friends, because
Yeah.
although my walking was terrible and, my leg never worked, you put wheels on me. He taught me to ice skate. I grew up in the shadows of Richmond ice rink. I could speed skate. I played ice hockey. I roller skated. And he just literally forced me unknowingly to just be super resilient, because he was so proud. I was like his protege, to say, this is what, if I make this child mentally strong and create no barriers, that she is stronger than her sisters, she's stronger than everyone else, then she'll do it. And then, unfortunately, when I was 7, just for my 8th birthday, my mum passed away really suddenly, really tragically. And that kind of really created a different level of resilience in me, that suddenly the wheels have been taken off my life. And I think, obviously, now I look back at, I was diagnosed in my 40s with severe PTSD from it. Now, my experience at the time was, I'm so fiercely strong. Everything that has been against me in my first 8 years of my dad bringing me up had created a resilience. So my brain sort of switched this super fast broadband brain to then just go, do you know what, I'm going to make I'm going to make you really proud of me, Mum. I'm going to do everything that you never got to do. She was very young when she died. And, you know, I traveled the world. I went on every continent bar Antarctica, and, you know, my body was going with me. It was everything that I was never meant to do. Every doctor that I had passed through said I was never going to walk until this age. I would never walk to that age. And this resilience just continued really throughout my 20s. And I did have a little bit of an accident in my 20s at Richard Branson's house, little name drop there, tore my cruciate ligament in my bad leg, but still that mental resilience just carried on. And then 2 weeks before my 40th birthday, I woke up with a spontaneous fracture of my L4 vertebrae. And at the time, you know, I'd never had any back problems, and I woke up unable to move, and they diagnosed a tumor in my L4 that I'd been born with, because, you know, hadn't been born with enough problems. I was born with this unknowing tumor in my spine, and it fractured my vertebrae. It had grown over a period of obviously 40 years. Wow. And decided there and then it was gonna take my mobility. And really, the wheels of my life fell off. Those wheels that my dad had in my brain had put on my feet with roller skates and ice skates and bikes had fallen off. The tires were punctured. I wasn't going anywhere. And it triggered everything I hadn't dealt with in my life. My mum's death, my phobia of death, dying. It was my phobia of starving to death, because, you know, we weren't a wealthy family. I had, you know, lying in this hospital bed in my lounge for 2 years thinking, I'm not, you know, is my husband going to feed me? Of course he was going to feed me. But my brain was going back to the trauma of losing my mum at 7 and all the things that I hadn't dealt with, because I had all these health issues as well as issues as a child of going, but I'm a resilient child. I'm this, I'm that. And, you know, Katy's exceeded all these expectations. So it stopped. That part of my brain had stopped being brave, and little Katy, the very traumatized, undiagnosed traumatized, and she is actually called little Katy now, because she came out and she was like, right, you're frightened, you're hungry, you're going to starve to death. Everything that you'd never dealt with came out in this voice, and I couldn't silence her. So what we did was we ate. And we ate, and we ate through the pain, we ate through the trauma, we ate through, you know, 30 odd years of not dealing with my mum's death. And then it got to a point where I was losing my mobility. I'd spent 2 years on crutches. I'd become enormously overweight. And I went, you know, back to my surgeon. I was like, look, I can't walk. My legs have gone. And he just said, you know, Katy, it's weight loss or a wheelchair. And I just remember there was just that part of me, whereas the other Katy, the frightened Katy, the scared Katy, who had never surfaced, who was there, was going, well, that's it, you know, that's it. Well, we're just going to sit here, we're going to hamper down, we're going to eat, and we're going to use food as our drug to silence the trauma that we hadn't dealt with. And I just remember it really distinctively, 2 weeks after him telling me it was a weight loss or wheelchair, of going to my husband going, I've got to lose weight. And he's like, look, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. I said, no. I said, I need 7 pounds a day for 5 years. He's like, what? And I was like, I need to have weight loss surgery. And he sort of looked at me and beautifully, slightly poetically, just thought, I've been with this woman a long time, and I'm not even going to pass judgment on her. He knew that he was losing me, and he knew that I had thought about it. So I subsequently had weight loss surgery 4 years ago. And after I had the surgery, obviously you lose lots of weight, and you know, you feel great about yourself. I got my mobility back, and by the grace of God, you know, I still don't know how my body continues to move like it does, but subsequently I had dealt with the weight, I had dealt with the physical aspects of it, but I had still, in the back of my mind, was this frightened little girl and the compulsion to overeat and to you know, food is no different to drugs, to gambling, to smoking, to drinking. Unfortunately, within the medical world, it's like you need to eat less and move more, and it's just not that case. And I'm thinking, but I've just paid for all this surgery, like what is going on? So I then decided that I needed therapy, and whereas my sisters have always been in therapy, I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to talk about my trauma. And I found this cognitive behavioral therapist, and you know, I always say to people, I booked into a session. I was just a bit like, oh yeah, whatever. I don't really want to talk about my problems, but you know, and I say I only went because he was quite handsome, and
Oh,
I
really?
just thought, well, this is a nice afternoon out. If nothing else, it's quite nice, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a good thing to do. I'm sure it will help. And then by the third session, he just said to me, you know, you're not getting over this, Katie. You're never going to get over this trauma. I cannot fix you. And I just looked at him and I was like, what? What are you talking about? Why am I even here? Why am I paying you? And he was so, and then all of a sudden he just like took this deep breath and he said, literally leaned into me and said, but I'm going to teach you how to live with it. I'm going to give you a toolbox. And he said, and I am going to give you permission to heal yourself. And I was like, and I just remember sort of just thinking, what has he just said? Like, 'cause Katy, little Katy, she's very much determined now. I recognize her and I hear her. Was just went, you know, like it was a real physical manifestation, Matt. I can't describe the physical feeling of this child inside me of going, what do you mean you can't heal me? What do you mean? Literally. And I just looked at him and I just was like, well, I don't want to live with it. I don't want to live. I can't do this anymore. I'm physically broken. I'm mentally broken. I can't do this. I haven't got it in me to do it. And he's like, I'm just gonna teach you how to just live and exist. He said, you have got this little girl inside of you who is so frightened, who is so scared, who nobody has listened to her, because you are unique in your resilience. You know, people don't generally survive being so physically disabled, having operations every year of your life until you're like 18, you know, going through the period of having surgery, having to recover, having to learn to walk again in order to keep this leg working. That's what my life was. Then throw in the death of a mother with a father who's a brutally hard Londoner who's got 5 daughters to look after.
Yeah.
You know, it's as I say to people, it's a Netflix story, and this is just touching on the surface. But what CBT has done for me is to recognize my trauma, to accept my past, and to bring this little girl's voice out. And in doing so, he would teach me, because I would hoard food. I would hoard food in order to feel safe. That was the only way she felt safe. And eventually we would, you know, he'd say, right, you're going to London, right, this is what I want you to take in your bag. I don't want you to take any more. And you know, I started listening to her. So she would be saying to me, we're getting on a train, you know, what if the train breaks down? You're going to a meeting. What if the meeting's 3 hours long and you can't get access to food? But I was losing weight, you know, that I'd had weight loss surgery, but still the voice continued in me. So eventually he was saying to her, you've got to start talking back to her. You've got to start answering her. Tell her that you're listening to her. So when this voice in my head, little Katy, would come to the front, she would just go, but I'm frightened, we're gonna starve to death. And this calamity, this tsunami of voice, this her trauma. And he would say to me, I want you to say to her, I hear you, I'm listening to you. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to do this. And you know what? If we do this, I promise you at the end of it, I'm going to feed you. I'm going to give you some water. I'm going to nurture you. So within the space of 6 weeks, by listening to her rather than hiding away and just thinking I'm this super resilient machine, this little girl, this frightened, broken child, the runt of the litter, And suddenly, just instead of being going, I'm here, somebody listen to me, I'm scared, and if you don't listen to me, I'm going to make you overeat. That's as blatant as it was. You know, that's what her voice was, but I couldn't hear it because I was like, I'm strong, I'm resilient. And it was like two brains in my head going, strong Katy, resilient Katy. She can walk, she can exceed expectations, she's worked hard, she's done this, to this other little girl going, but nobody's listening to me. I am frightened, I am scared, and I need you to hear me, because once you start hearing me, I just want somebody to forgive me and just go, I'm here, I love you, and I trust you're going to do the right thing by me. And Matt, within 6 to 8 weeks of having this open, you know, my husband would be like, who are you talking to? Because she'd be going, you know, I'd be in the kitchen, she'd go, oh, should I have a little bit of bread? Yes, it's bread. And I'd be like, I've had my lunch. And then instead I'd go to her, yeah, no, I hear you, but we've had lunch. We've had lunch.
Right.
Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a drink of water. We're going to have a massive drink of water. We're going to just take it easy, and we're going to set a timer for 30 minutes. And if you're still hungry in 30 minutes, I promise you, I am going to feed you. That's simple and pure as it was. And literally this voice was coming back into me going, all right then, smart ass.
Oh, really?
Think you know, I'm still going to come back and I'm still going to scream at you, and I'm still going to like go, because you hadn't listened to me for 30 years. So I've still got a lot more to say. And so it was like the adrenaline, the brain, the stomach, the hormones, everything just going, okay, we've got 30 minutes, troops, everyone sit down. She's listening to us. 30 minutes. We've only got to wait 30 minutes and we're going to start the narrative again. And she would. So after 30 minutes, the time would go off and she'd be like, you said you'd feed me. And I go, yeah, I did. Yeah. And I would literally, this is how it was. I can't even, it sounds crazy, but this was my crazy. And this is and I go, yeah, no, you're right. Do you know what? Let's have a little banana. Let's have half a banana. And then we'll set the timer, have another drink in half an hour. And over the period of days, weeks, months, she just became silent. And now, little Katy, we live beautifully together. She still pops her head up, and you know, when I've got a highly stressful day, or you know, I've got a long journey, you know, still in the car, Matt, you go in my car, you will never die. There's water in there, there's blankets, there's snacks,
survival,
you know, people, because that's my coping mechanism. But because I've started listening to her and forgiving myself and forgiving, there are two Katys living here. There's little Katy and then there's big Katy. And I love her, and I am so grateful that she has worked with me. We've worked together. I am loving her and nurturing her and forgiving her for her past. And she's giving me a second chance. You know, I still will face a lifetime of surgeries, but we're one now. She's not frightened anymore. And I can't tell people when they're dealing with addictions as part of the mental health and addictive behavior is find that voice in your head, find it and start listening to it and start talking to it, and actually listening and just gently negotiate with it. And for me, that has come from using the water and timer method. Something so simple that he taught me was to just say, do you know what, we're going to do something else for half an hour, but actually verbalizing that to yourself, to go, I know you want to go and, you know, do online addictive shopping. I know you want to go and have alcohol. I know, I do too, because that's our go-to position. That's our safe space. That's what makes us feel better. But let's go do some colouring in, or let's go and tidy the cupboard. Let's go and have a drink of water. Because if you give your time and that headspace to get that adrenaline down, because what I've learned is everything's a thought, it's not real. A thought has come from a trauma, something that's happened in your life. It is just a thought. And if you listen to those thoughts and you calm it down, and also, you know, with me, the trauma of losing my mum, he said to me, imagine it as though it's a scab on the back of your hand. You know, when you walk through the doorway and you hit your elbow and you just go, like the
Yep.
pain, what have I done? And he would say to me is when they come in, you know, the anniversary of her death, her birthday, my birthday, you have the right to feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
Like in no other country, I think the Brits are really bad at just going, do you know what? I feel really sorry for myself today.
Yeah.
You know, in certain cultures, when somebody dies, they shut the curtains, they shut the doors, and they mourn for 7 days. They weep, they allow the poison out. We don't do that. We have this, you know, oh, I remember at 14, one of my
Yeah.
mum's best friends saying to me, I can't believe you're not over this. And I just remember thinking, then at my 30th, when my dad died, and one of my friends a few months afterwards said, you're not the same anymore. Damn right, I'm not the same. I'm never going to be the same.
Right.
And now I accept that, because what that difference gives me is a higher level of compassion, of
Yeah.
love, of empathy, of helping people to use what's in themselves to forgive themselves and to forgive their trauma and go, you know what, I am never going to be the same, but this is the new me, and watch me shine, because I am going to listen. I am going to nurture this pain inside me, and we are going to live together beautifully and happily. And the days that we're not, you know what, that's okay. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to go, this really hurts, I've whacked it on the door, and I need to stop and take a breath. That's okay. That's it.
That's it. Is that it? Is that all it
That's
is?
it. It's as
Oh my
simple as that.
gosh. I honestly, wow, incredible, inspiring. I think it's what an incredible journey. You know, sharing the same year of birth, you know, that's an incredible reality as well, isn't it? But think about, yeah, oh my gosh, honestly, there is so much. I would ask you a million questions about your journey, because I think there's just so many pieces to it, isn't there? But what I love genuinely
Yeah.
is that, you know, where we are now in our age range group is the life that you've lived all the way through that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and where you are now and what you do now and how you do it now, and how you've been
Yeah.
crafted through that journey. And I think it's just so inspiring, genuinely
Yeah.
inspiring, to hear you, and how, you know, absolutely aware you are, and you're
Yeah.
consciously aware of that. And that's one of the things that I've always found fascinating when I'm talking in any of these conversations, is how aware people become of things they've been through
Mm.
when they talk about it, when they process it, when they get the right support around them. We've got a few more minutes, you know, so we're limited by time. Unfortunately, it's one of those realities of life. But you know, so I'm just going to sort of ask you just a couple of questions to finish with, if that's okay. And
Yeah.
in
Of
terms of
course.
sort of where you are now, right now, you know, in your space of, I know you've got surgeries still for your life, there'll be surgeries
Yeah.
coming, but where you are in that sort of mental space right now. And the final thing that I always ask people is, you know, any final thoughts, closing thoughts or quotes or anything. So I'm going to leave you with those two thoughts. I'll let you just sort of say a few words around those, if that's all right, Katy.
Yeah, so now I would say, so obviously having lost 9 stone or 60
Wow,
kilos in
incredible.
weight, and that for me, you know, that food was my drug. So I have lost that burden of problems, you know, that has come with that. And what it has done, and this is what I say to people with dealing with any addiction, is that you know, I get told I cheated because I had weight loss surgery. But I always say to people, you know, if I had cancer, would you tell me not to take the chemo? Find your chemo.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing. What is the thing
Yep.
that when you're dealing with mental health and trauma, and you know, what is going to be your chemo to try and help you learn to live and fix this problem? And for me, dealing with obesity and eating, you know, as my go-to, could have been drugs, could have been drink, could have been anything,
Yep.
is finding out what's the chemo. And don't let anyone judge you, you know. You have to do what's right for you, because it's your journey. So um in my space, within that bariatric communities, you know, there is a lot of judgment, and anyone that is brave enough to face this journey, is you never fail until you fail to try again. And every day is a new chance to forgive yourself, is to peel that layer off and go, do you know what? I didn't fail yesterday. I just didn't finish it. But today I'm going to start again. And you know, find your tools that when you are dealing with mental health, is that you feel that you're at the bottom of Everest and that you can't get up there. You haven't got your Sherpa, you haven't got the shoes, you haven't got the equipment. Find your equipment. Find out, you know, you can't do this on this own, and you can't climb Everest without a team of people. But don't make it one person, Matt. Make it a whole tribe of people to you know, if it's raining, you need a raincoat, you need Wellingtons, you need an umbrella.
Yep.
Don't have what, there's not one tool that will fix this. You have to pick a number of tools, and you have to go to different resources, and also with the people that you're surrounding yourself with. You know, I said to you earlier, is I've lost friends on this journey because they don't like the new me. The narrative of my positivity now drives people insane.
Horrible.
But I will never stand in the shadows as a broken child. Oh, little Katy, she's very broken. You know, oh, bless her, look, she's so disabled. You know, I have got a lot of surgery ahead of me still. You know, I and some quite big, serious surgeries. But you know what? That's just, that to me is just going over another hump on that climb to Everest, because I don't even want to get to the top of Everest, because I can see the sun shining over that mountain every day. And you know, I am grateful that I can find the sunshine on a cloudy day, you know. And so just make sure that you are equipped for your journey ahead, and be brave enough. But when there's negative people, just, you know what, it's okay. You don't need that equipment. Put it aside. Go find another piece of equipment that will help you. Don't rely on one source of you know, tools to help you on this journey. You know, seek many opinions, you know, and then together, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, but create your own tribe in your own village to get you on this journey. And start listening to that trauma. Start talking back to it. Don't keep trying to put a plaster on it, because I tell you, will never get the poison out if you don't start properly healing it and looking after it and loving it and nurturing it. Absolutely. And you know, like with you know, I talked about my dad briefly, and you know, he always said, you know, like this whole thing about stay in your lane. And you know, I remember my PE teacher whacking me round the head. I was about 6 or 7 years old, because I couldn't get on the box in PE. I couldn't jump up on the box because my leg didn't move that way. And he came down the school and he said, she can't get on that box, but she can get around that box faster than you will ever. He said, you put something on this child's feet and she will outrun you all. And I've never ever forgotten that. And that's what I say to people. You know what? You may not be able to climb up the mountain, but find a way around it, because you will get there. You just need, who wants to go up and over? Actually, going round might be a little bit nicer. There might be a little cafe on the way, and there might be lots of villages and lots of
nice people.
You know, so you don't stay in your lane. Don't be afraid to change your lane, and don't be embarrassed to go, you know what, that's not working for me. That's not serving me. I need to do this. The other thing on that though, Matt, is where people go, what I really disagree with, people go, this is me, this is how it is. No, it doesn't need to be like that. Be open to behavioral change, because if you open your mind to go, do you know what, this might work for me. Do you know what, hearing me today, this might work. Why don't I give it a go? Because what else? You've got nothing to lose. It feels dark and enclosing and frightened. Don't be afraid to go, this is a bit different. I'll give it a go. Because I guarantee 6 to 8 weeks of listening to that trauma and listening to the scared voice inside your head and actually acknowledging them, it's life changing. It really, really is life changing. And you know, I hope that this helps other people to find their mountain and their people.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know it will, for people that listen to this and have listened to your story and will understand a little bit more about you. You know, there's a beautiful thing about being human, you know, and we have this wonderful ability to be resilient and to come back from traumas and experiences and still to thrive and do really well. And, you know, and look, this is where we are. And, you know, just accept where we are and learn, and lessons are being learned all the time. So thank you, Katy. I really do mean that. I've loved listening to you talking about your journey and your story. And I really do appreciate everything you're doing. And, you know, you're showing the way, you know, through your own personal examples. And I think that's brilliant. Please keep doing it.
Thank you. Oh, bless you.
I know you're
Thank
inspiring
you,
a lot of people. You also have a Facebook group, and I do just want to bring that in quickly because I know you mentioned a Facebook group.
Yes, yeah, I have. It's called Darcy's Diner. And yeah, DARCEY Diner, and it's named after my daughter because she is my inspiration, and it's really a place to come for people who are considering weight loss surgery, but the mental health side of it is dealing, even if you haven't had surgery or you don't want to have surgery, is knowing how to deal when you're dealing with overeating. I'm not an expert, but I am an expert patient of how to overcome it. And we've got some great members on there. We've got some great content. I do a few videos on there just to try and help and inspire people to overcome you know, overeating and stuff like that. So yes, you're welcome to join.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'll drop the link. I don't know why I'm pointing out my window, but I'll drop the link into the content of this this marketing for this as well, so on the post.
Brilliant.
So brilliant. But thank you so much, Katy. I really appreciate you spending some time with me to chat, and it's been great. So I appreciate everything.
Thank you, Matt.
Take care. Look after yourself.
Thank you. Take care.